open up and tell you about what we're doing if you ask. So we're glad that we rectified that as well.
Fantastic. I think I've asked my questions. Are there any other questions from councillors about this particular planning application? No. So basically, what I can ask you to do now is if you can actually leave the meeting, leave the meeting, and later on we will discuss the planning application later on in our agenda, and you're more than welcome to watch it on the YouTube link that has been provided to you. So,
okay,
but just for our connectivity, the less people we have connected, the better. So, just make sure that you leave the meeting, not end the meeting. Otherwise, you'll end it for all of us. So leave the meeting.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you ever so much. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, moving. Thank you. Bye bye. Right, moving on to the next planning application, where we've got public here to speak. I'm going to move on to the 20 Medley Road application. What I'm going to do is we're going to have the acceptors speak first, and then we'll let the applicants speak last. So then hopefully that they can answer any questions that have come up from the other members of the public, and then obviously then councillors, then you'll have your chance to ask questions as well. So, is it okay if we could have Roger and Parish Jarvis first, please? You may need to unmute yourself.
Okay, I've got it.
All right, brilliant. Well done.
Okay, thank you. Right, a couple of points that we want to make on there. One is obviously the loss of light and the visual impact on our garden from the size of the actual extension that's being built. The second point we want to make is that the applicants put down to bring out 1 metre from the side of their property when they haven't actually got 1 metre from the side of their property. They actually have around 800 millimetres from the side measuring to the original fence line. Their fence that they've built at the back of the property actually encroaches onto the rear access to Simmons Close. So they've measured that at 1 metre, but the actual side of their property is 800 millimetres. As measured to the original fence post. Now, bearing in mind that's 800 millimetres, not a metre, they've also got overhang of guttering, etc. on the side, which would probably take out about another 140 millimetres, because that cannot overhang the path. So that leaves them a little over 600 millimetres for the side extension. So those are our 2 main objections.
Okay. Is there anything else you...
Sorry, yes, we're also a little concerned about the parking issues out here at the moment. I mean, there's very little parking out here as it stands at the moment, and it's obviously going to encroach quite a lot on the parking out there.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything else you want to say? Say it now.
No, that's it, thank you.
I won't be able to come back to you.
No, that's fine, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jarvis. Mr. Jensen?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thanks for the platform. So we've got a list of objections on the planning website, but these are our main concerns. 20 Medley Road runs perpendicular to our back garden, so the gardens are currently aligned, and we're sort of concerned that this large extension to the rear will encroach on our lights into our back garden. It's a west-facing garden, so it's quite a sort of key features for us, and we're worried it's going to impact our enjoyment of the garden. The way the estate is built, it was sort of done so in such that there wasn't an overlap of buildings, so it sort of feels like it's not in line with the original design of the estate. We have a rowan tree on the left-hand side of our garden, which is the opposite side, which I think might be protected as well. So between the two of them, it's really going to impact us there. Second point, we've looked at the drawings, and again, we sort of have some concerns about the aesthetics of the drawings. The rear extension is a flat roof. I think on our estate, I don't see any sort of flat roof extensions anywhere. The majority are probably one story and almost all have a pitched roof. So again, just don't fill this in with the design of the area. Just checking. And finally, obviously, we have the access path at the rear of our property, which services Simmons Close as part of our sort of our responsibility. And I don't really see how they're going to be able to build a side extension without potentially blocking or sort of severely sort of restricting access to that for, I guess, a significant period of time as a build like this would take. Just worried about that in the case of a fire emergency. And obviously we have 2 young children, and obviously we'll be concerned about noise and potential air pollution and the use of the garden during this period. So yeah, that's our main points anyway.
Okay, thank you for that. If you don't have nothing else to add, we'll go on to the next person.
Yeah, sorry. No, that's everything. Thank you for your time.
No, thank you for joining us. Martin Hayes, Mr. Hayes, are you here? You may need to unmute yourself. Is Mr. Hayes one of the guests? Do we know?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Right, I'm going to have to pass you over because Martin can't unmute his microphone.
Okay, no worries.
Good evening. The points I want to raise regarding 20 Medley Road. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Yeah. Is like 4, 6, and 8 Simmons Close have the right of access through the path to the rear of our property, and have to maintain this path at our own expense. Is this the same for 20 Medley Road, as they have their own separate access path and gate at present? And I'm concerned about the damage to my property and disruption during construction, including restricted access, which I use regularly for my bike, wheelie bin and barrow, and also this will affect the lights in my property and will be visible bright light loss of enjoyment of my property and garden. And also it's encroaching on the restricted access to and from my rear gate. And that's my 4 points.
Thank you, Mr. Hayes. Thank you for letting us know your reasons for objecting. If you have nothing else to add,
no, that's it.
We'll move on. Thank you ever so much. Thank you for taking the time to attend. So, Mr. Sean Fitzpatrick, do you like to tell us about your application?
Can you hear me all right?
And then perhaps you can
yeah, I don't know where to start. So, number 2, Simmons, you're at the front of my house. You're not actually at the rear, so I don't understand how a rear extension can block your light. All we're trying to do is gain an extra bedroom because we've got 3 young girls that are all sharing 1 bedroom at the moment. The single story on the side won't even encroach onto the path, doesn't even touch the path that they also own, or say they own, which is common land. I believe number 2 hasn't even got access to his path at all. His gates are on the side and around the front. As for parking, there's nothing I can do about the parking because the pub car park is shut. and everybody's parking their cars down our road. I can't control that. But they're also in a different road. They live in Simmons Road. We're on Medley Road. So I don't know what else. Yeah, what you want me to add? My fence line has always been the same as it's been for about 30 years. So I don't know where they're saying it's been moved from or come out or encroached on anything. Yeah, I don't know. Anything else you want me to answer?
Councillors, do you have any questions to ask Mr. Fitzpatrick about this application?
Can I just ask, was there a previous application for this?
Yes, there was. That was granted back in 2012. So I believe it ran out in about 2016, 2017. As for the flat roof, sorry, just to add that point, we're quite willing to make that flat roof a hip roof, which will take that roof a bit higher. So it's not a problem. We can do that. Any other questions?
Actually, I have one. Will because you're obviously going to be you lose your side access obviously to your back garden. Is it your intention to use this path at all?
No, I've got access through my garage. So at the rear of my garden, my garage is there, which I get access from the garden and go straight through to my sideway from around the other side. So yeah, no, I wouldn't need to use their alleyway, what they maintain.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, councillors?
No, thank you.
No.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fitzpatrick, for attending tonight. Like I said earlier on, we're not the
No.
You know, we don't decide your planning application for you. We're just a consultee. So we will obviously discuss this later on. Like I said before, this is being broadcast on our YouTube channel. So if you want to wait till later on in the meeting and watch the YouTube link to the meeting, you'll know how and what we discussed. So if you could all be very kind and leave the meeting now, that would be fantastic. And I thank you again for attending. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Cheers. Bye.
Thank you. Okay, brilliant. So that's the public forum done. We haven't got our district or our county councillor here, so we haven't got an update. So I'm sure we'll. I had a question for councillor.
Yeah,
sorry?
I think he is still trying to join us. So perhaps if he manages to get on chair, we can come back to that item.
Yes, most definitely. If councillor Houston gets in, that will that'll be fine. So right now we'll move on to the next item, which is the broadband installation. And we have a presentation by GigaClear.
Hi, good evening. Thank you very much for having us. My name's Sophie. I'm the Community Engagement Manager for GigaClear in the East of England. I also have with me Emma Wood, who's our Regional Programme Manager, and we just wanted to talk you through some of our intentions for the Parish of Rayne. Sarah, I didn't know whether you were able to share the slides or whether I should just talk to them and provide a verbal update. I don't mind, whatever is easiest for you guys.
Sophie, if you could just give me a moment, please.
Yeah, no problem.
Tom, I don't seem to have access to the keys that I normally do when I'm sharing a document. They're greyed out.
Right, hang on a second.
Thank you. Okay, just bear with me a second, Sophie. I'm just going to upload the document now.
No problem.
Thank you. Okay, it's on everybody's screen now, Sophie.
Lovely, thank you. Do you control the slides for me, or can I do that? Or do people flick through? Sorry, I've not used this platform before.
I think I need to control them. If you could indicate when you want me to turn the page.
Okay. Yep. So if you'd just like to go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So I just, some of you might be aware of who we are already, but I thought it prudent just to go through a bit more about GigaClear and who we are and what our intentions are. So if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide, please, Sarah. So we're still quite a young company. We were founded in 2010, so we actually celebrate our 10th birthday at the end of this year. We've been working closely with communities across the country for those past 10 years now to bring ultra-fast fibre broadband, so particularly in rural areas, which has been our main focus. We really want to provide that enhanced rural living through providing that broadband infrastructure. So, for example, this evening, I know some of you are experiencing broadband problems or connection issues. Having this technology that we're planning to bring to the parish of Rayne will negate those issues. And GigaClear is also principally owned by Infracapital, which is a leading European infrastructure investor. Next slide, please. So just a bit about how we do it. So we invest in communities. We also have a partnership with Superfast Essex. So work that we did along Flitchway last year was in partnership with Superfast Essex. However, off the back of that, we are now planning to extend our network into the village of Rayne itself to connect the vast majority of properties in the parish with the same network capabilities. So we also build and maintain the largest rural fibre to the premises network. So as I said, we specialise in bringing full fibre broadband to rural communities, and we also provide the UK's fastest broadband. So similar to City Fibre or Hyperoptic and Openreach also use full fibre technologies. It's the best kind of technology that you can get at the moment. Next slide, please. So this slide just gives you a bit of an idea of our current coverage area. So as you can see, we've grown quite considerably over the last 10 years, and we are growing even more still, hence our expansion into Rayne. And we also work with a number of other local body programmes across the country as well, but obviously for Essex, we work with Superfast Essex. Next slide, please. So this just explains a little bit more about the fibre to the premises technology. So standard broadband is where you'd get a connection from the exchange to the cabinet and to the premises, and that uses copper connection. So that's quite an old standard of network. It's ADSL. The average speed that you could get on that is 24 meg. Since then, Openreach came along and upgraded a lot of their network to fibre to the cabinet. So although that increased speeds to an average of 80 meg download, it was still a copper wire to the premises. The kind of network that we operate full fibre broadband. So it's a full fibre dedicated line direct to your property from the cabinet. So it's similar to just having your water mains, gas mains, electricity. It's all direct to your house, and you don't share that connection with anyone. And you may have seen in the news that the government's desire to actually bring that gigabit capable speeds, especially to rural communities, by 2025. So we are playing a fairly big part in that. Next slide, please. So what this means for you, certainly coronavirus has highlighted the importance of reliable broadband. For families, that might be where children have had to homeschool or do their homework from home. Home workers, I know I've been working from home a lot, and people were working from home where they could at the beginning of lockdown. Community service. Although you might not be meeting in village halls or community centres very often, it is quite a valuable thing to have, especially pubs. It can and libraries. What we do actually offer is a community hub scheme where we'll provide a live connection free for a year. If that's something that interests the parish council, I can send over information on that. Local businesses. having fast broadband does help local businesses, especially as our network is symmetrical, so the upload speed is the same as well. So we hear a lot from photographers who, for example, if they've been to a wedding, they've taken a lot of high quality images, the upload speed to their website so their customers can download their photos, that has really benefited them. Online shopping and banking, we've definitely seen an increase in that over the past few months, and keeping in touch as well, and obviously that has been quite an important factor, especially at the beginning of lockdown. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about what you could expect in building the network. And so where we are at the moment, we're in between design and validation, or we're just at validation stage. So some of you may have heard or seen our network access officers who have been out and about in the village, and I'll come on to that in a bit more detail in a moment. But once our contractors have validated it, i.e. they've surveyed the areas that we're intending to build to and that they've priced it up and they're happy with it, we will then begin mobilisation and submitting requests to Essex Highways for permits, and then we will then begin the build phase. So at the moment, we're looking to start the build phase at the end of September, beginning of October. And Sarah, I think as the parish clerk, you get notification of permits from Essex Highways anyway, but there's also the One.Network website, which provides live updates and also diversion routes if we have to close a road. So the next slide, please. So I wanted to talk a bit about planning and design. But although I think I've just done that, in fact, I think I've mentioned everything on this slide already, so I've got a bit ahead of myself. So we can go to the next slide, please. So network access agreements. So in some cases, we do need to build our network on private land in order to serve a property or perhaps several properties. There is no obligation to sign a network access agreement. It's just something that we put forward as a requirement to be able to build our network to those properties. Or it might be that there's, in some cases in other communities, we've had fields that we needed to get through. Fitchway, I think we had that wayleave with, I can't remember, sorry, if it was Braintree District Council or Essex County Council, but we had to go through a wayleave in order to do that. So that's an example of when it might be more of a commercial agreement, but there are sometimes where we'll speak to landowners that own a couple of properties or just their property in order to build the network. So that's something that our network access officers negotiate and agree with the landowner and discuss and answer any concerns that they have. Build. So as I mentioned before, we are looking to start the build at the end of September, beginning of October. We expect the network build to last around 6 months. So what we do is we physically lay the fibre ducting in the ground and blow the fibre through. In some instances, we'll also use an overhead solution, so where we put the fibre on overhead poles, normally via OpenReach. However, it's still our maintained and operated network. So in some cases, you might encounter road closures. That depends on the size of the road and the safety involved, and that's safety for our workforce, our contractors, and as well as members of the public as well. Next slide, please. Reinstatement. So it can be a little bit disruptive. We are laying new infrastructure, but we are required to reinstate, and that includes reinstatement on private land as well. So we aim to have everything back to looking the way it was before we started, or as near as perfectly possible. Next slide, please. Finally, I just wanted to provide the contact details for our network build care team. So as I said, it can be a bit disruptive, and if anyone's got any questions, then our network build care team can be contacted on these details, and there is also more information on our website. And that's me. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophie. Do councillors have any questions about the presentation? Mr. Tom.
Yes, Sophie. Question I've got for you is because Superfast Essex, I'm aware that it was a very small amount of rain that was part of that scheme. and obviously you've run a backhaul through Rayne to go to places. What I find a lot is you're putting in the pots in people's front gardens, and you seem to be starting from their properties. And they are thinking, great, the pot's here, I can get it. And they've even been given the impression of that by your engineers. But actually, because you're running back to your POP to then distribute, but then I'm fully aware that Wethersfield, down the road from Rayne here, their pots went in a good couple of years ago, and because of Virgin Media doing issues with the feed to your pot, they were sitting for 2 years waiting for service. What's going to be the status here? Because you're talking of sort of 6 months you'll be doing it in around Rayne, but is that just in people's front gardens, and therefore actually the service won't be there till quite a long time later?
No, so that 6 months is billed through to live connections.
Right.
So this is I think I mentioned this is completely commercially funded for Rayne, and we have since we've done Weatherfield, we've onboarded new contractors. We've got several new contractors to actually help build our commercial work. So we're not taking any resource from existing Superfast Essex program works. We have brought in additional suppliers to build these networks. And you are right, we have experienced delays in the past. And what I can say is, if they're still not connected, and they should be, so please ask them to get in touch with Network Build Care, and we can escalate that and find out what's going on.
Sure, thank you.
Councillor Davis, do you have a question?
I just kind of wanted to sort of really follow up on what Tom said. I've actually now got GigaClear. I've had it for a couple of months. Speed is fantastic, 320 down, 320 up. But my pot was actually installed at the front of my property about 18 months ago. So I've waited 18 months since they've done all the works out the front. And just on the reinstatement, mine didn't really get reinstated. When the guys installed on the day, they told me that due to COVID, they had no grass seed. So I had to reinstate myself. That's the only thing I just wanted to mention.
Okay, well, I'm sorry to hear that. I don't obviously know the ins and outs of your particular case. Have you raised that with our customer care team at all? Is that something you'd like to raise?
I'll be honest with you. I have had a couple of issues since it's installed, and I got to the point where I gave up, if I'm honest.
Okay, if you're still experiencing issues, Sarah has my email address. Sarah, if you don't mind passing my email address on, if you wouldn't mind contacting me, I can look into any issues you're experiencing and escalate that with the appropriate team at GigaClear.
It's resolved now, but it took a lot longer than it should have done.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Right. But the service itself is very good. But the reinstatement, where it didn't get reinstated, I've ended up doing it myself.
Okay, well, I'm sorry to hear that, and as I say, the help and support numbers are there, so if any of you find that you are encountering any problems, please do get in touch with us and let us know.
I have a question, actually. So is GigaClear actually being able to provide broadband across the whole of the village? Because I was under the understanding that it didn't actually do the whole of the village.
So under the Superfast Essex programme, we built our backhaul through Flitchway, and I think we only connected a couple of premises in Rayne as we were going along that route, and that was just to connect the properties that were included in that contract with Superfast Essex. What we're doing now, and it makes sense for us to do that, is to actually extend our network to the vast majority of Rayne, and I say the vast majority because I think there might be a small number of premises perhaps on the outskirts that we won't be connecting, but we are connecting the vast majority of Rayne, and because that's commercially invested, it makes sense for us to basically do the majority of it, if not all of it.
Okay, thank you. And also, I know some villagers had some issues with some communication that came through their doors about digging up driveways and what have you. And I assume there was obviously a big misunderstanding there. So
unfortunately, so we have new network access officers onboarded to our team. Our processes weren't very robust in this instance. So we have reviewed that and we are implementing changes to make sure that doesn't happen again. We have taken on board feedback from residents, and we've also had conversations with them where they've been unhappy, and we believe they are resolved now. But if anyone else comes to you and they aren't resolved, please let us know, and we'll be happy to speak to them.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Willis, do you have a question?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just quickly, I've noticed on GigaClear's website it's not actually showing that the service is available in Rayne. Now, of course, it may not be yet, but if you put your postcode in, it says there is no service there.
Thank you for reminding me. I just wanted to let you know as well that is being updated on a website, and that should be replicated over the next few days. So if you do go onto our website over the next few days and type in your postcode, you'll be able to see whether you're included or not in plans. If you don't see anything in the next week or so, please let me know and I'll instigate it. But I've been told that should be replicated over the next few days.
Okay.
Thank you. And Councillor Elder, do you have a question?
Yes, you said that some parts will and some parts won't. Is there a definitive map as to who will and who won't? Because as councillors, we do get asked by people in the village, we know about Claire, you've been to the meeting, am I going to get this service? We need a definitive map rather than, oh, you might. I think.
No, I understand. So that leads me back to the postcode checker. So we can't provide a map because it's commercially sensitive information, but what we can do is invite people to look at our postcode checker. So in fact, what I'll do is as soon as I know it's live, I will notify Sarah that it's live, and you can check your postcodes on there. If a postcode isn't included or if a property isn't included, let us know and we can look it up and we can see the reason why that might be. But as I say, it is the vast majority of Rayne, and we don't expect too many properties to be left out.
Okay, thank you. I look forward to seeing it. Thank you.
Any other questions, councillors? No? That's a lovely presentation. Thank you, Sophie. I think we have quite a few viewers on YouTube watching us as well now, so hopefully they'll know that they can get fast broadband to their village. So yes, I appreciate your time attending our meeting tonight and providing the slides and everything. So thank you. You're more than welcome to leave the meeting now. Thank you.
Thanks very much, everybody. Have a good
Thank
evening.
You.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Fantastic. Right, I think they've all left now. Yeah. Okay. Moving on to our. Yes,
Can I make a quick comment? It was really bizarre that Russell said that, because I was literally about to make a comment saying that I remember how worried we were when they were doing the works on the flitch, and actually they reinstated it incredibly. And so I was going to say that, and then Russell came back and said, "No, you were rubbish." I was like, "I'm going to keep my mouth shut." So, there we go. So, yeah, it was just a comment. I thought so. Hopefully, that's just sort of like a one in the thing for Russell, and they do it as well as they did the flitch. Because if they do it as well as that, then it will be brilliant.
Okay. Russell.
Yeah, just to say that I was quite impressed with their reinstatement on the flitch.
Yeah.
But in my front garden, I ended up with an S-shaped figure where they buried the cable, dug the grass up, and apparently they can't get grass seed at the moment. But
it's a worry, isn't it, that you sort of think the flitch obviously is quite a large body, so it would be very obvious if it weren't maintained, like reinstated properly. So I suppose that is a worry that sort of keep an eye on as such.
Yeah, no, the flitch I was impressed with.
I mean, to be fair, the Parish Council had concerns when they reinstated along Pod's Lane. But again, it's a narrow lane and trees and hedges and what have you. So, but anyway, very interesting to hear tonight, and I'm glad to hear all your comments. So yes, moving on to the neighbourhood plan and the next steps. Next week is penciled in, or not penciled in, because it actually has gone out to the public about having a neighbourhood plan meeting. My thoughts are that the slideshow that Jan gave us, we'll have that out, and we'll kind of just go over with members of the public that attend how we want to proceed, and perhaps get any starting ideas from. Which councillors are interested in attending next week, first off. And obviously over the next week we will advertise again. Obviously it was in the Rayne in Focus. Haven't heard from anybody yet, which is quite disappointing really, because if the village wants to do this kind of thing, we need their help. We can't do this on our own. So I really hope that we get some interest, although I appreciate that it's difficult to do this in the virtual world. So I'm hoping we get some steadfast people that do want to do this. Mike?
Yeah, communication-wise, I think we need to get it out there probably, social media, all those kind of things. I've been away incredibly busy. I didn't know about the meeting until I actually read the agenda today because I wasn't at the last meeting.
In the Rayne in Focus?
I know, but if you've been away and you haven't had the Rayne Focus, of which a lot of people sometimes don't get and have time, all those kind of things, it's a matter of luck and whatever, and I think we need to be a little bit more than a matter of luck. So social media, all those kind of things.
Oh yes, we will ramp it up this week. There has been a post about it after the Brook Green inquiry, so the Brook Green planning application. Sarah did a post on from that saying if you're interested. So we will really ramp it up in the next week anyway. Problem is if we start these things too early, people just forget about it anyway. So
I disagree with that. I think you can have as many hits as you like. If you start early, people will know. I totally disagree with that. Sorry, Chair.
That's okay. No, but say it's been out to the whole of the village within the Rayne in Focus. So hopefully a lot of the village, but we'll reinforce it with social media. Tom?
My one thought is I'm not aware of us having had the Rayne in Focus delivered to us here, so I don't know if it has actually been delivered throughout the village or not.
Okay, I've got mine.
I delivered it to you a couple of days ago.
I
put it through your letterbox.
Go and find it, Tom. So obviously we will ramp it up, and hopefully we'll get some more attendees. So yeah, can I have a show of hands of what councillors?
Really quickly, with regards to that, rather obviously, we're more than happy to share anything on the cafe, Facebook, etc. Try and ramp that up as well, so you get a different group of people seeing it as well. So if you let me know once it's out or once a post has been made, we can share and sort of put a little bit on as well, and hopefully that will help somewhat.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, if we can all share and share on our own pages as well, that would be helpful, to be fair.
Anybody tell me what day it is next week?
It's the 14th, Monday the 14th.
Monday, right, thanks.
Yeah, we decided that date at the meeting last month, so because we need to start getting this ball rolling. So can I have a show of hands of what of who will, what councillors will attend next week? Thank you, Mike. Sarah, quick minute and say who's coming. Okay, brilliant. And obviously we'll send invites to you all as well anyway. But obviously, we will be setting up the working group, so hopefully people will want to carry on. So any other thoughts on the neighbourhood plan? I just think we need to get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
So
it's not really until we get the ball rolling and things that we're going to get any further thoughts, really, I ever thought.
Yeah, okay. So, Tom, we're going to need links for next week as well. And obviously, as soon as we get some public, we'll get those to you as soon as possible as well. So.
Right. I'll get the links sent out probably this evening, otherwise tomorrow, for the meeting next week, and then I can add to it.
Yeah, okay, that'd be perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Tom. If there's no other queries, we'll move on. Okay, moving on to roads, transport and public safety. Do we have any defects to report around the village? No potholes, no street lamps? It's all very quiet around the village at the moment.
My only thing, it's not really a defect as such, but I'm aware there was an issue today in New Road here with people, or commercial vehicles being parked on the grass verge by the flitch. I left to go to work, and I actually had to struggle to get round all the vehicles that were there.
I think Sarah has some remarks on that.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I was going to update under correspondence or another suitable part of the agenda. I did receive via Facebook a complaint from a resident regarding that parking. They said it's been going on for a couple of days now. So I did a quick letter this afternoon. I went down to the site, and there was a lot of vehicles parked on the verge, which damages it. As you say, it makes it very difficult for people to see when they're crossing from the flitch to Fairy Hall Lane as well, which was the concern that was raised. So I handed the letter to the householder. I think he's a new resident. And asked him to address the concerns in the letter. So we'll see what happens. But if residents on the south side of the village, i.e. Tom, Simon, perhaps could keep an eye on things and let me know if there is an improvement. Otherwise, I can sort out another letter. Another concern I had was the number of advertising boards that have been erected. I've taken several pictures. It seems to be a bit of overkill to me. There's at least 4 or 5 large boards that have been erected by the company that's undertaking work to the property there, which should really have permission from Braintree Council planning, I believe. So there could be an enforcement case there to answer. People can put a board up for a day or two, but if it gets more than that, then it needs to come down.
I know one of the signs they've actually fastened to the electricity pylon, and they're not legally allowed to do that. They have to get permission from UK Power Networks to mount on the pylons.
Yeah, I had a feeling that some sort of permission would be required for some of them. That's why I took photos while I was in the area of all the signs that I saw. But so we'll certainly keep an eye on that, please.
Comes under the... I'm sorry.
I presume this is probably my next door neighbour who's having his drive done.
The occupier litter over. I don't know what their name is, but yeah.
This what? Little over on Stocks Farm Lane.
Yeah.
Yeah, new house. I'll keep an eye out on it. I think one of the large signs has been put on my fence, which I wasn't too approved. But I'll have a few words, but probably may have to come through officially. I'll keep an eye on it.
Thank you. Thank you, Simon. Russell, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, it was just to say it should come under the town and county planning regulations. If the sign's over a certain size, it will need planning permission.
Thank you. Any other defects within the village? Okay, thank you. Stansted Airport. I haven't heard anything from Stansted Airport for a little while. I'm not sure what councillors either have any comments to make about the airport. No, okay, thank you.
Quite something I forgot how loud planes were because of lockdown.
I think we all had.
Isn't it? Part of me that was going, what on earth is that?
They do seem to have a more direct takeoff route over the village at the moment as well.
Yeah.
There does seem to be more over us. Yes, Celia.
We're likely to have less planes because I know EasyJet are coming out of Stansted and Southend and Luton, I believe.
No, they're not coming out of Stansted. They're just not using it as a hub anymore. So the flights will still be there, but they won't be using it as a hub. So the flights will still be there.
What do you mean a hub?
As where all their crew are based.
Oh, I see. Right. Okay. I misunderstood that then.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think that they're booking flights, but they're not.
Okay.
Your cheap holiday will still be okay. Policing issues. We've had a few. Obviously, all of you have seen the emails that Sarah sends around with the police reports. We've had a few reports of a few incidences around the village, but nothing major. We haven't heard anything about coffee with cops or anything yet either, have we? So we'll keep asking when they can do that we were hoping to do that at the Booking Hall Cafe at some point. So
they have got my details because I think they've emailed before, or was it Sarah forwarded an email? No, yeah, you CC'd me in and said this is the person you need to speak to. So they have, and I have sort of emailed and said we're more than happy to do it. The last one I think went really well. So yeah, they've got my details. So just if anyone hears from them, obviously just send them my way, and then we could arrange something. And
perhaps we'll chase them up, because I did notice on social media they had done something at Great Notley somewhere recently or something.
Okay.
So I think it's like they are starting to do something.
Yeah, of course.
So it would be quite nice if we could get
equally as well. I know that we're planning on putting a marquee out on the front on the platform, just like basically a gazebo along for winter months, etc. Because obviously we can't have anyone inside at the minute. So it doesn't matter realistically what time they do weather-wise either, hopefully. So fingers crossed we can just get a date in and it can be done.
Okay. Brilliant. Mike?
Yeah, we are getting an increase. I was saying increase because it's always happening. Broken glass in the Village Hall car park, and they are pint glasses. So they are coming from an establishment, probably one not too far away, mainly at the weekends, Friday night, Saturday night. As I open up in the mornings and whatever, I just naturally now go over with a dustpan and brush and clear up whatever's around. I'm going to go and have just to quite word with Jack and just say, could he just keep an eye on where the glasses are late on in the evenings and whatever.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Nothing major at this point. It's just annoying.
I agree. Okay, yeah, thanks for doing that. Any other policing issues that anyone else is aware of? No, fantastic. Okay, moving on to administration. We received Sarah's clerk's report for last month. Have you got anything to add to it, Sarah, since you've done it?
Nothing to add, Chair, apart from the letter. Obviously, I took round the hand delivered this afternoon, but that was a very late edition.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
On the park report, I had a quick word with the groundsman. The tree mentioned is probably likely to have a TPO on it. Now, obviously, the groundsmen are prepared to do some work on it, but we might have to go through some hoops. In regards to the person doing some work on it themselves, because it might have a TPO on it, I don't know if they can or not without being obviously prosecuted. So I don't know what to say on that front.
Struggling a little bit to hear, Trevor. It's always quite a bad. I don't know, the microphone or something. It doesn't come across very well. So sorry. Can I just confirm that you mean the tree that overhangs the parking area in Hants Lane? Is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
So you're saying that's a TPO tree?
It's likely to be a TPO tree.
Likely. Okay.
I mean, I haven't had a chance to look at it. I've had a quick look online in regards to what we can and can't do, and I can't find anything specific at the moment to allow us to quickly go and chop it, chop what's not necessary down. Like I say, it's not a quick fix, I don't think.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Moving on to circulation and correspondence. We received anything else we needed to bring up under this item? I think there is there?
No, we have just received a Clerks and Councils Direct, but I haven't had a look through it yet. If I find anything of interest, I will, of course, send it round. But I think, as before, I seem to remember that you can view it online if councillors wanted to have a look. I think I did manage to send an article in for this one, but they weren't too sure it would be very relevant because it was relating to Easter. So I'm not sure if it's in there, but I'll take a look on there as well.
Obviously, councillors would have seen that Sarah managed to get two items in publications of what we've done in Rayne over the last few months. So that was quite good, getting Rayne on the map. So yeah, thank you for getting those in.
Oh, Chair, sorry. Can I just come back on that, actually? I did get contacted by a parish council. I'm not sure where it is, to be fair, because I didn't recognise the name. Obviously, a small village somewhere in the country that saw the article and asked for further details on the competition that we ran. So that's quite nice, to build that sort of network,
Definitely. We just did it to keep the kids busy in lockdown and get some free posters, which have actually gone around the village now. So that's a nice thing.
And encourage the youngsters as well to get involved, perhaps later on when they're a bit older.
Definitely. So thank you for that. Moving on to Essex Minerals and Waste Development. Obviously, Don's not with us tonight. I don't think there's actually much movement at the moment. Request obviously again went into the Rayne and Focus about joining that joining the liaison committee. I have one villager so far that's keen to join that. So I think we only need two villagers anyway. So if people do know of anyone else that's interested in going on that, get them in contact with the parish council. Again, we'll do a social media post for that one as well. Okay, moving on to planning applications. First of all, the single-storey rear extension to create a workshop, internal alterations and external remodelling. This is 82 Shelford Road. The applicant wasn't here this evening. Do we have any comments about that application?
No comment.
Chair, my one query, where it's sought to create a workshop, is that to then turn it into commercial use?
It would be a different planning application if they had to do that, I think. So I assume it's just for private work. Sarah?
Yeah, I think it wouldn't get through the planning validation process if there were concerns of that nature. They would be directed to a different type of planning application.
Okay. Any other comments on this planning application? So we agree no comment on this application?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to the single-storey side and two-storey rear extension of 20 Medley Road. Obviously, earlier on this evening, we heard from the three residents of Simmons Close and then obviously the applicant of 20 Medley Road. Can somebody, or does anyone have any comments about this application or any thoughts about it? Yes, Mike.
I did ask the question about the planning application as it has been previously granted by this council. I understand that there are no significant changes to any circumstance to probably have any different view. I don't know. I've also heard from the caseworker working on the application that it is Braintree's view that is the same. So I don't know if that helps anybody on the council or everything else. I think it's a difficult one. If it's been granted in the past, nothing's changed. If we were to make anything different, that's my only comment on that.
Thank you, Mike. Councillor Meehan?
Is there a reason that it was granted 12 years ago but nothing has been done? Is there a reason why they want to now reapply for planning permission? That would be my main thing, is to sort of why.
I did have asked that question when, because I went to have a look. Financial.
Okay, yeah, that's understandable. And yeah, I sort of kind of agree. Like, I can understand from the point of view of the people living the objections that they have, but equally, if nothing really much has changed, I don't really know that we can change our stance that much. Do you know what I mean? It's a tough one, because although exactly that people came on and they had their disagreements with the planning application, exactly that, if it's not really changed much and we sort of had a no interest view previously. I understand, obviously, new councillors, different time, etc., etc. But yeah, that would be my theory.
Thank you, Grace. Paul?
It's only to say, similar to what Mike has said, really. I mean, I think that the one thing I think Braintree Council were a little bit concerned about was the flat roof rather than the original application, I think, had a pitched roof. So I think that is the only change. But all the other stuff is not really planning again, is it? It's to do with access and not really a planning situation. So I'm sort of fairly thinking that it's not really for us to object, to be honest with you.
Councillor Tibbetts?
The width of it is definitely out.
I can't hear Simon. Sorry.
Well, can't hear me, right? Is that any better?
Yeah.
Right. The width of it is definitely land. I've been along there and measured it with a ruler. I think Karen has as well. And that's just the wall. As they were saying, the guttering and things above would put it a lot more outside. So really, if they're trying to put planning permission in for land that they don't own, they need a different type. They need to tick the box to say they don't own that bit of land. So I think we should actually, even if we don't object, this should be pointed out quite clearly to Braintree Council, because they probably will miss it.
I think Braintree are aware, aren't they?
I don't know. But
I think they've already accepted that it's an access issue, not a planning issue.
But so Braintree have actually acknowledged that they're trying to build.
Well, they're saying it's not a planning consideration, it's an access consideration.
But it's not just access, it's whether they've got a legal right to.
Well, that's what the case officer had written.
Yeah.
No harm in stating that, though, is there?
Sarah?
Sorry, Chair, just to clarify, I think that sort of concern would come under civil matter rather than a planning concern.
Exactly.
That's what Paul's trying to point out there, I believe.
But as this is a several houses, is a concern to other residents of Rayne. And therefore, we should have an interest in it.
I mean, I think I can appreciate the issues of the three houses in Simmons Close, and I can understand their concerns. Unfortunately, most of their concerns aren't actually planning obligation issues. So therefore, I don't feel that we have anything to object on. But I think it should be noted that we have concerns about the width and perhaps the overhang of the guttering. That's my view.
Yeah, I would just second that as a proposal.
I agree.
That's a fair comment, that.
Yeah.
Okay, can we do that then, please? Are we all in agreement with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the proposed two-storey front and side extension, alterations and landscaping of 12 Smithfield. Again, we heard from the applicant tonight. I'm sure councillors have looked at on the planning portal and saw the objection that the next door neighbour has put in. By the sounds of it, they seem to have overcome those issues, but obviously that objection letter is still there. So I'm not sure whether it's going to be receded or not. But again, I don't think there's much that we can object on this application either. Anyone else? You were just all murmuring agreement.
No comment again, isn't it?
Yeah, I think no comment, because if the only issues really were between them and the next door neighbours, and they seem to have gone through and allayed their fears, then yeah, no comment.
Okay, we'll go with no comment then. Thank you. And then the next outline planning permission with some matters reserved, appearance, scale and landscape for demolition of workshop, stables, greenhouse, store, detached machinery and log store, and erection of one detached two-bedroom chalet bungalow with 2 car parking spaces at Common Farm along Long Lane. Do councillors have any comments on this application?
I would just say that I'm glad to see there's another bungalow being built.
Yeah.
There's a shortage in the general area.
Yeah, they're going to live in it, aren't they,
Well,
themselves?
join the neighbourhood planning committee, and then you can get more bungalows in the village. No comment on this application?
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. Okay, just some planning applications to note. The non-material amendment to permission of 18/02186 full granted on the 18th of the 2nd, 2019 for the conversion of an existing double garage with the curtilage of a listed building into a living annex. The amendment would allow to replace blockwork walls with timber frame structure at 15 Shelford Road. So that's just a planning application for us to note. Another one was the note to intent to carry out works to trees in a conservation area. This was at Fir Cottage, Gore Lane. Because extensions aren't allowed for TPO'd, the tree wardens created the document, and it's been sent in. So that is in your paperwork for tonight. So hopefully you've seen that, and just that the tree warden supported the proposed works. So just to note that. Planning applications, the window frames at Oak Cottage, Gore Lane were granted. The application of approval of details reserved on condition 5 of an approved application at Rayne Hall Farm was granted. The removal of the cement-based pebble-dashed outer surface at 78 Shelford Road, that's been granted, and then prior approval was required and given at Sorrells Farm, Fenton's Road, for agricultural and forestry development of a steel frame barn. And then the notice to intent works on a TPO trees at 6 Station Road, that's been part granted and part refused. And then the other one that's deemed permitted is basically that's the extraction site, isn't it?
Yeah.
You don't want me to read all that out to you, but basically it's deemed permitted that the extraction will happen at Broadfield Farm, Dunmow Road. That'll save half an hour not having to read that out. It's in the agenda if anyone wants to see it. Okay, moving on to the local plan. We need to agree our council's response to the documentation, and well, also there is a joint meeting with the parish council, with the parishes tomorrow night, but it's actually more to do with the government planning. But reading, I don't know how many people have actually read through the revisions of the local plan. There's a few bits and pieces I'd like to highlight on our behalf. One of them is that they talking about coalescence and making sure that settlements are separated from Rayne. That's being reinforced. So I'd like to say thank you for that one. Also, the dualling of the A120 must happen as well between Braintree and the A12, and also ultra-fast broadband should happen. The other thing that I picked up on, I did want to ask Councillor Euston this evening, but he wasn't here, that they seem to have backtracked on their housing requirements. So back in August, I think it was, they revised the figure down to 623, but in the documentation it is showing as 716 houses per annum. So that's my only gripe with the local plan consultation.
Would that be anything to do with the next part of the agenda by any chance?
Possibly, don't know. But it's just a shame that they, dangled 623 in front of us, and now they seem to change it to 716. I mean, the 623 wasn't as low as we'd hoped or could have been. So, yeah, that's the comments. It's obviously not going to be a massive long 15-page document like it has been on previous local plans, but I do believe that we should put some form of.
That's nearly 100 different, Chair, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think that question probably is more
93.
to BDC rather than actually to the local plan, because obviously the inspector isn't going to know that BDC had an issue of 623 a month ago. So I think I've had a question to Councillor. I will email Councillor Eusden to find out where this new figure has now come from. But are you happy with those kind of things as a response in support of the local plan? Because basically we need this local plan in place now to stop speculative development. You know, we need the section 2 in place because Rayne comes off lightly in section 2. So it is important that this local plan does get in place now, and without the garden community village that's obviously been scrubbed out, that whole section of west of Braintree has been removed. So are you happy with that?
Yep.
I'll add that to my to-do list then. It's getting longer. Okay. Moving on to the government planning changes. I'm sure you've all had some really good bedtime reading and read the government changes. Don was doing an awful lot of work on my behalf for this, so I'm going to have to admit I'm not fully up to date and fully up to speed on this, because Don was doing a lot of the groundwork for me, and we have a meeting with the joint parishes tonight to try and establish a joint thinking to these consultations. So I propose actually, because I mean, the more important one is the 29th of October. So I propose I feed back to you after tomorrow night's meeting with the joint parishes. And we've also been hoping that NALC/EALC might give us some guidance as well, possibly even BDC, but nothing's been forthcoming. So if that's okay, I'll report back, and we'll have it on the agenda for October's meeting as well to feedback more. And in the meantime, if councils do fancy reading the 60-page document and have any other views as well, we would really appreciate it. Russell?
Yeah, my only comment, I haven't read all of it. I've read quite a bit of it. One of the things that they were suggesting in there was reviewing, upping the number of units on the development for the requirement for affordable housing to 40 or 50 units. And that raises a concern for me, because obviously affordable housing at the moment is in short supply as it is. At the moment, I believe it's either sort of over 10 or 14 units, 30 to 40% has to account as affordable housing. If all of a sudden you temporarily change that limit to 40 to 50 units, that's a lot of local affordable housing that will no longer be available. And that is a real concern. So I just wanted to just point that out.
Okay, thank you.
That was actually that point was focused at small and medium enterprise builders, wasn't it, actually? So it's particularly focused at. I'm not saying it's a good thing, because it's not, but I mean, it was actually targeted at the SME sector. Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay. Thank you. Moving on to the environment and grounds. Is there an update from Trevor?
Yes, good news. Today we finally get back to full groundsmen, i.e. both on work at the same time on the same day. This is the first time since March, I believe. So yes, we're all back to full complement. Last month had been principally around grass cutting. We're hoping to get out to the main footpaths outside of Rayne soon as well, because we haven't managed to do that in the entire part of this year so far. In regards to the bins have been delivered. We had a brief discussion around today about what we're going to do to replace the bins we have got the new one's 4. We're hoping to have a solution that doesn't involve creating anything new, but that will have to come from an investigation work that we'll do to try and keep things cheap. Other than that, on the agenda we have got plans to change the mower tyres to ones that we previously had to prevent us keep on slipping and also gets us out of trouble. The Finance Committee has already signed it off, but this is just a rough stamp it. And we're also proposing the acquisition of a hedge trimmer, which will speed up the work, the manual hedge trimming work. Other than that, we've had a complaint, obviously, from Celia, which I'll address after the meeting as it's a personal one.
Okay. Thank you. And it's great to be back up to full speed as well, isn't it? So, so that's great. Andy's done a great job, and Mark coming back on different days and what have you. It's done coped really well, but definitely nice to be back up to full speed. So yeah. Thank you, Trevor. Moving on to Village Hall.
I don't think there's anything. We're gradually getting.
We can't actually see you, Celia. We can only see the top of your head.
Can you see me now?
No, it's worse.
Right.
Maybe you get closer.
Is that better?
No, no. I can only see your fringe.
You need to tilt the camera down.
On the mobile app.
Perfectly all right. Is that better?
That's better.
Oh, well, I can only see my nose downwards. But we're gradually getting hirers back. There are some that still can't come back because of the number of members, but we're waiting on delivery of new curtains and to be installed, waiting to hear about when they're going to be delivered and installed. But that's about it, really. We've had very positive feedback from hirers about the COVID situation and the how it's being sorted out. Yeah, and compliments on the new floor as well. So pretty good.
It's really great that all the hirers are slowly trickling back and
yeah, I mean the
adhering as well.
WI, for example, they've got 44 members, and of course they can only allow 18 in the room at any one time, so that precludes them from returning until the situation's very different. But you know, that's just one of the hirers. I don't know about many of the others off the top of my head, but it's been worked around. However, it's so pretty good.
It's a lot of hard work to get that hole back open, and obviously with this first month of opening and what have you, it's really encouraging to have.
To be fair, Christy,
that it's worked.
Yeah, the Village Hall Committee have worked really hard. The sanitisers, this, that, and everything else. Whatever needs doing is got done. So. Did
they receive the grant from Councillor Euston and for the sanitising stuff?
I think they did. Can you remember, Simon? I think they did.
I think they did.
I'm pretty sure they did.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Off the top of my head, I can't remember, to be honest. I'm pretty crap at remembering things these days, but there you go.
The only thing that I was going to update is that at some point, we had a meeting, Trevor and myself had a meeting with Mike over the new grass cutting contract. So the addendum part of our agreement just does need some rewording on sections where the Village Hall new contract is taking over what the Parish Council was doing. So I will email Tracy. Thank you for the agenda and the minutes that you sent through today. I'll reply and say I'm so busy with other things at the moment. I'll try and get that rewritten. There's no great rush. The main thing is that the groundsmen know what they're doing and not doing, and obviously Mike's obviously well in charge of what BDC are doing for the village
Yeah.
hall. So
I mean, if you want to send, it'd be nice if Simon and I had a copy of that as well, just so we know ourselves, and also if there's anything else that you want us to bring up at the village hall committee as well.
Yeah, I was waiting to see what anything came up this evening during the meeting, and actually at the moment I don't think there's nothing much coming on. It's just offering support and getting the hirers back and make sure everything's running okay, really. So
well, if you do, just ping us an email.
Yeah.
It's probably just as quick to do that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Celia.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Just
go on.
Just to say, the notice board looks nice.
I know. Looks good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Really good.
Good choice of colour, wasn't it? Thank you.
It really stands out. It looks good.
To be totally honest with you, I never thought you'd all agree to red. To be totally honest, I really didn't think you'd agree to red. But
Rayne
I love
red.
the colour. I do love the colour, but it's a little bit fiddly to open. It's not as easy as I thought it would be.
Oh.
Unfortunately, but yeah, hopefully in the winter it won't be too much of a problem. But yeah, in the summer it's okay. It's just a very fiddly Allen key, and I wasn't quite expecting it to be quite that fiddly. But never mind. It does look very nice, and it's much easier to use magnets rather than pins on a board compared to the other notice boards. Magnets are working very well in there. They're very strong.
Good,
so it looks much smarter.
Yeah, I think it looks quite nice myself, but then I'm biased.
No, that's brilliant. Okay, moving on to the telephone box. Councillor Willis, off we go.
Well,
yay!
Significant movement, yeah. Well, I mean, it's moved. It's in place. On Saturday, we put the floor in as well. So it's ready really now for the next phase of refurbishing it, really. We have left the power supply in. Not that it's powered, but we've left the conduit to take power if we need to in the future. But it has been suggested we might want to consider putting a solar light in there or something like that. If we do want to light it at all, but have something rather than mains power in there, something like a solar lamp or something. But that's anyway, the power supply is there if we need to. I had a quick look at I think we need about 6 panes of glass. I mean, I think there's 5 actually missing, but 6 panes just in case we break one. Plus, I don't think we'll need any primer because we can obviously, we could rub the coat down and give it a good power washing and what have you. So I suspect that the total cost of the bits we'll need won't be much greater than about £100 in terms of the materials to. It's in pretty good nick, really. All the springs work, the door retainer works. Everything's pretty good order, really. So some of the more expensive things that we might have had to buy, we really won't need. So I think it'll be probably £100 or so in parts.
Does that include the new sign where it would say telephone box?
Oh, the glass bit. So I think when I priced it up before, it was about £120, but that was including the primer. I don't think we'll really need to prime it. So that there's 4 panes of glass going in the top, which obviously I haven't got the wording to hand with me at the moment, but I've got it in the file somewhere, which was basically information. I think it was Rayne Station, and information was the actual inscription on the glass. So yeah, but anyway, I think it just all came together very quickly in the end.
Very quickly.
I mean, the only thing I would want to add to that is we need to think a little bit about what we're going to do from the old site. I think. I mean, obviously we've reinstated the ground and we have got some grass seed, so we've grassed it. But I just wondered if we had any plans in the future to make it something. Because I have seen there's been 1 or 2 negative comments about obviously moving the phone box to there, as well as positive comments. The fact we've moved it to the station. So I just wonder if there's anything we can actually do there in the medium term to actually make that area somehow better. I don't know whether that could be another planter or something. I don't know.
Okay. I was going to suggest a big sort of half-barrel planter.
Yeah, something like that.
But people know, paint it red or whatever colour you like. But I know local residents said the telephone box was a a focal point for, go past the telephone box and turn left, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Something like that make it sort of, even if you got sort of painted on the Rayne crest or something like that. I don't know.
I think it's something we should think about, though. As a project for next year probably. In next year's precept or something like that. Have a little bit of a budget that we can actually put something nice there.
Yeah, I agree. Grace.
Hello. So with with the power, etc. Tom, one of the rangers, did ask me about the power line.
Yeah.
And he thinks that we'll need permission, because although we have the use of the power in terms of how to turn it on and off, he thinks. But I wasn't sure whether it was covered in the lease agreement that we signed with Lambert Smithhampton, and I can't seem to find it.
I think it all depends on whose responsibility that lamppost is.
Well, that's the thing. So I think it comes under Essex County Council's responsibility. We have the ability to turn it on and off, but I think it comes under their responsibility. So depending on how funny they're going to be about it, maybe a solar panel light is the way to go, mainly because it would be much easier to maintain as well, I would imagine.
I agree totally. Yeah.
So I think that's probably quite a good idea. And I know now that I've spoken to the Friends, and so they're basically ready to go once sort of I'm going to draw up a plan, including obviously the bench that's going to go there. And I know me and Josh and the Friends have bought a board, like an information board, to go next to it to explain it. I think it's got the history of the telephone box on it, etc., etc., etc. So yeah, it's looking like it's going to be a really lovely little bit there now. So hopefully we've got a membrane that we managed to steal to put down around it, meaning that hopefully weeds, etc., won't come through. And as far as I know, wood chipping and flowers, etc., and then the bench. So should be really lovely. It's really good.
One thing you'd have to keep in mind with a solar light is because it's under the trees there, it won't really charge up very much.
But you can get some, can't you, that have sort of a longer wire as such for the actual solar, so it doesn't actually necessarily have to be on top of the light, because I know that on our decking we've got a thing and it goes up and it's secured on the side of the wall, so it gets more sunlight. So we could always go down that route, and it could always be put through to somewhere that does get slightly more light, because I completely understand what you're talking about there. It doesn't get much light as such.
Celia? Can I just ask one thing, Chair? Just looking ahead, I thought we were going to get this telephone box moved free of charge, but I see in the payments that we've paid Brown's Transport £180.
Basically, because of the last minute how this happened, that the man that was going to help us could do it, but we needed to source a lorry that could do it. So Paul spent the whole of Friday afternoon making numerous phone calls to different suppliers, again with myself and Sarah, letting us know what was happening. So when we realised that we might have to make, this is quite a small payment actually, because one of the quotes was £400. So so this to be 150, I did, as standing of terms of reference for finance state, an email to finance committee to ask whether they were happy to use this. We do have a budget for the telephone box anyway, so that will come out of that budget.
So what happened to Camden then?
Can I just answer that, Chair, please?
Yeah.
One of the people I spoke to was Chris Dorr at Tamdan, and he told me that he'd made his lorry driver redundant, and he was not in a position to do anything for at least a month. So I guess we were, and unfortunately, it's actually quite it's quite a difficult job to move a telephone box. In fact,
I'm not questioning it. It just struck me that we were going to have it done for free, but if the guy's been.
Well, I don't think we actually ever said that. I think Mike Bamford might have said that, but I don't think we actually ever said that we could necessarily get it moved for free. We'd hoped to. I mean, I actually got it dug up and all the work done in digging it up, getting the concrete away, and then reinstalling it in the new position, if you like, and re-cementing it back in again. We got all that for nothing. So I felt anyway, and I'm glad the finance committee supported that, was that the 150 pounds plus VAT was a relatively modest event meant to do it, because the guy did us favours for it. To be perfectly honest, he did it for us as a favour, really, at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's just I recalled it. Just querying it. That's all.
Yep, sure.
And I've no issue with it because, as you say, I think it's very reasonable. But anyway, there you go.
And the boarding out of the inside of what we ever want to do with it. I managed to talk my husband's company into Michael be able to draw out some plans of what we want to do inside, and then hopefully with a small little bit of advertising, like how we did with the lorry grabber, bit of advertising, we'll be able to get it boarded out inside for free as well. So hopefully, the last of the expenditure should just be on the paint and glass, hopefully. So all in all, quite a good job really.
Yep.
So thank you, Paul, for that work. That weekend was that 24 hours was crazy, but we had to grab it with both hands. We did have to grab it. That's right.
Zachary's still talking about the big crane that brought the telephone box.
I'm sure he is.
He's very excited about it.
No, it's very good. So yeah, we'll carry on with the plans to get it finished off so it looks lovely.
Yep.
So okay, moving on to the nature reserve. Again, this was something that we've been quite keen to get back on the agenda. We seem to be having new working groups starting left, right, and centre at the moment, so I feel like we're spreading quite thinly. But it's actually to start a working group for the nature reserve. Paul was quite happy to head this up. But basically, we just feel like it's lost its way a little bit at the moment. I just think we just feel it just needs some direction and some management, and to make it a beautiful, beautiful place for people to go to. And I think, where it's been off of our radar maybe for a few years, I think it's time definitely to bring it, back in and try and get a group of residents with the council, obviously, to help get it, get it back to the way it was. Paul, do you have anything to add?
Well, obviously the composition of the committee is going to be a major factor. I mean, I'm thinking we must ask Roger and Sylvia to be on that committee, I think, and there has been some interest from the groundsmen as to being involved. Obviously, I suppose we've got to be very careful that we don't distract from the day-to-day duties of looking after the village to concentrate too much on the nature reserve. But I think it'd be useful to have their input as well. I don't know what Trevor thinks about that, but
yeah, well, I was going to try and get some time with Roger in the near future, just sort of scope out what his vision was for it. Certainly, I think he still has some thoughts about what he wants where, but obviously we need to make sure that that encompasses everybody's thoughts, not just his.
Yeah. I think. I mean, obviously, it is going to be. I mean, I will certainly take up to. I will invite. I think what I'll try and do is arrange a site visit with Roger, Sylvia, and I don't know, but I'm not sure how I introduce the groundsmen to this, because obviously I don't want to take the groundsmen away from their day-to-day activities, really. Well, I mean,
basically, I guess it all depends on capacity, really, because obviously Roger always nicks the groundsman when he feels necessary. But I want to get to a stage where we're planning it better. So yeah, I would be keen to be fronting up the grounds. In terms of what resource we can provide. Yeah.
Yeah. As far as the PC is concerned, and I mean, is there anybody? I mean, obviously, I know you've got a very full plate, Trevor, but would you be willing to be part of that as well?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you're an obvious man to be involved in that, aren't you? Really. Hang on, I've got. Sorry, Chair. Mike's got his hand up.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, as part of my responsibilities for Village Hall Committee is to actually look after the field. So I wouldn't mind being involved if it just answers any questions and save having to keep going backwards to Village Hall saying, "Oh, shall we do this or shall we do that?" At least we can do that first hand if that's okay with you.
It'd be very okay. You'd be most welcome, I think.
I must admit, I did ask at the Village Hall Committee meeting last time I was there, asking whether somebody from the Village Hall Committee would like to go on this. And in Mike's absence, they did actually say Mike to go on that, to go on the working group. So well volunteered, Mike.
Well, surprised. Good. Thank you.
So, Paul, can we leave it to you to kind of like perhaps send some emails, get some invites? If you want us to do a social media post to find out if there's anyone else willing, I appreciate we're asking people to do a neighbourhood plan at the moment.
I am going to do you a trade for neighbourhood plan for field.
Are you?
Yes.
Thank you.
I can't do everything. So
no, I'm a little bit. That's why I was really thinking. Well, I've got the nature reserve to work on, and that was, after all, something I brought up earlier this year, I think. So I'm fully on board to take have a go at that now and tackle it. But as Mike says, we can't all do everything, can we? Sort of thing. So
no, exactly.
But I'm quite happy to send out invites and to Trevor and to Mike and anybody else who wants to be involved. I think perhaps somebody in the village, somebody from the village, at least somebody who's who's not on the parish council as well. Well, I suppose Roger and Sylvia, but Roger and Sylvia have a an interest in the nature reserve, obviously, don't they? So
definitely.
I'm writing
a list of social media posts that we need to do. So first and foremost, we need to get the neighbourhood plan out, because obviously that meeting's next week.
Yeah.
We'll do a nature reserve one, and also we'll do one for the gravel pit. Thank you.
Yeah,
I knew that's what. So yeah, we can do that as well.
I mean, how many people would you suggest we're looking for to form a committee, and what's the view of the parish council in terms of the sort of the working size of the group? I mean, there's three of us, Roger and Sylvia, and probably
7 maybe.
Yeah.
Half a dozen, I think, Paul. Half a dozen, 6, 7, whatever,
On the original committee, there was representation from the school, because obviously the school can use that as a resource.
That's right. The original website had still a website about there somewhere, isn't it? The school's prominent on that, actually.
I mean, obviously, at the current situation with COVID, that might be a bit difficult, but you could potentially get somebody re-involved if that was the case. And certainly, when I was on that committee, there was a specific member from the school who was utilising the nature reserve as a resource, so to speak.
Yeah, that's what they were. Yeah. Okay. Well, if I send something around just initially to the if you can get that out on social media, but I can actually send something around to Mike and myself and to Trevor and whatever, and we'll get some initial ideas as to how because obviously Trevor's got quite a lot of experience in this area anyway, obviously having been involved previously. I'd like to pick his brains as much as anything.
Sarah, before you wave your arm off.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what I was doing that for.
Take quite a lot of interest in activities in shall we say. So if there's no contact forthcoming from social media posts, then perhaps we can make direct contact with the neighbour adjacent to the nature reserve. I think I have contact details for them if required.
Is that the people at the very end, Sarah?
Yes, they're sort of on the. I'm not sure
yeah.
they under the village sort of boundary.
Yeah, I know
do
where it is.
the nature reserve.
Yep.
And they've been quite helpful to us in the past.
Okay.
I have made contact with the school several times over the last few months and not had a response. So, good luck with trying to get hold of them. But there are a few issues that we could do with talking to them about. But it may be worth approaching the chair of governors. If not, if I don't get anywhere with the head again, so I'm getting a little bit fed up with chasing them.
Okay.
Okay. Brilliant. Sounds exciting.
If the alternative is just to disregard the school and just go ahead with it, you know, if you try 3 times in asking and you get no response, then you just don't go ahead with them.
Yeah, I think it's nice if you can try and include the school, because obviously, you know, it's there for the whole community. So perhaps the scouting movement actually as well. You know, might be an idea.
Well, as I say, we have to sketch out our ideas as to what the vision is for the thing as well, don't we?
Yeah, definitely. So no, brilliant, fantastic. Something else on the go, which is really good. So right, moving on is the Great British September Clean, which is something that we said that we would do as a council. Because obviously the spring clean was cancelled due to COVID. So Sarah, you're gonna have to remind me what we need to do for this. Sorry.
That's okay, yeah. The Great British September Clean, as it is now, is taking place between the 11th and 27th of September. So I think previously we've suggested that perhaps we find a convenient sort of Saturday when it's only a few councillors. It's got to be, it's not a big public event like it is normally. So I would suggest 4 or 5 councillors and myself meet at the village hall. Councillor Eusden's already indicated to me that he would like to be involved as well, and he answered a question. Fortunately, I didn't leave it till tonight. I asked him, and BDC will supply us with high-vis jackets, litter pickers, and probably bags as well, I should think, and gloves, all the equipment that we need to undertake that. So basically, it's just a matter really of sorting out a day. We can still publicise it and say this is what we've done, and if Trevor can let us know any particular hotspots that we can cover to save the groundsman a job. Obviously,
well, basically, the more extremities of the village, really, because obviously they concentrate on the central parts of the village. So out to Shelford Road, out to the old Oak, things like that would be preferable, but that's obviously difficult from the logistics point of view.
Well, as long as we've got sort of high-vis, and I think we probably need to do some sort of risk assessment and that sort of thing as well. Areas that are generally quite often hotspots around are obviously the playing fields and the Flitch Way, but we do get some support from residents as well who do their own sort of private litter picking, if you like. So we can still promote it on social media, but it won't be the big event that it is normally.
Sarah, can I just say that you probably might need to check with the village hall about where you put the rubbish, because I don't know off the top of my head whether the collections have been reduced because of COVID or because the hall's not being used so much or whatever.
No, we're back to normal.
Will we? Right.
Normal pickups on a Thursday, the same as the black bin in Rayne.
All right. Okay.
And it would be organised by Braintree Council. It would be a separate thing. If they know that we're taking part, they would arrange for the clean team to pick the bags up straight away, probably on the Monday morning or something like that anyway. So it would not be involved in the normal collection of the waste that happens from the village hall.
Where the rubbish is put rather than at the front of the hall, obviously be put somewhere out of sight.
It can't be too out of sight, otherwise it could be spread around.
What I think the village hall will say is that if they've got hires, they don't want hires to see a whole load of rubbish bags right outside the door. That's what I think the issue was before. But
Yeah, appreciate that, but it also needs to probably be covered by the CCTV in case it goes walkies or it gets opened up or strewn about. So it will be picked up straight away.
Yeah, we'll bring it up on Wednesday and we'll come up with something of where to put the stuff, as you say, inside.
Do we have a particular date in mind?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
I think I was going to suggest something like the 18th.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, 19th of September. Beg your pardon.
Yeah, let's do that.
That's a Saturday, yeah.
Yes.
Saturday, yeah.
Yeah, I'm up for it. Yeah.
What kind of time? Morning or afternoon?
I'm easy either way, really.
Prefer morning if any, but I'm not worried.
Yeah. Shall we say 10 o'clock?
Yeah.
Yeah. I should be able to get to that.
Okay. Anybody else want to be involved?
I'll just check a couple of things, Sarah. I'll let you know the next couple of days.
Okay. So we've...
Yep.
I'm happy to do it, but I will have a 3-year-old in tow.
That's all right, Grace. Don't worry.
You can help.
Awkward.
1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Putting it in the calendar. And another thing to Facebook advertise as well. Brilliant. Thank you for. I didn't actually see who put their hands up because I was too busy putting it in my calendar. So thank you to whoever put themselves forward for that. Okay.
Sorry, Chair. Sarah, will you just pop a little note out on that one, just to say what the date again and the time?
Yes, I will do, Paul. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to finance. As you can see, we've got quite a few payments. Can I have a proposer and a seconder for the payments, please? Proposed Mike Eldred and seconded Celia Merton, please. Also signatories, which are really only talking to Grace and Simon now. Obviously Don isn't here tonight, so he won't have seen that we've authorised the payments. As 2 payments are to myself, I'd rather not authorise. So we'd just leave Grace and Simon to authorise the payments, please. Is that okay? Thank you. Okay, moving on to items for precept. It's getting that time of year. We're only a couple of months away. So any ideas or plans that the councillors...
Christmas tree!
We don't need one.
No.
We've got one.
Where?
Do you not talk to your husband?
No.
Oh!
Honestly? Why have you not told me about this? No, he genuinely hasn't told me about this.
You've got a free tree.
We got a free tree from a resident. And I spoke to Josh, and then he phoned me and said, yes, please, that would be lovely.
Oh, okay. Genuinely not been told that by my husband.
I think that's a really good idea because the church is reordering will be starting. So the church is going to be closed over the Christmas period.
Oh,
so for you guys, to be a Christmas tree, you might be the gathering place.
Okay. Oh, that's brilliant. Okay.
Yeah,
I shall reprimand my husband on that later then.
Yeah, definitely. I think the one item we ought to put in for precept we were discussing earlier on is some kind of planter at the
telephone box.
Telephone box. So
yeah, I do think that is a good idea.
If we can add that to the precept.
Yeah.
Is it something similar size? Are you thinking of like the ones in the street on the hump by Nasda? That sort of size?
Yeah, could be something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know how much they are. I'm actually finance. We'll see this when we've got finance in 2 weeks' time. I think I've started writing the 5-year. But I say 5-year housing supply. 5-year business plan is what I've been writing. So obviously there's a few projects in there that are ongoing that obviously will will feed into the precept anyway. So once finance has had a look at it and we can get it a bit more finalised, obviously it'll come to full council. So it's something I'd like to try and get published by the end of the year, so perhaps it runs. So would you rather it run with the financial year though? I suppose you would actually, wouldn't you?
It would probably be easier, yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to be something that's going to be done halfway through this financial year. So there's a few, I can't remember what I've written in it because I started it about a month ago and haven't come back to it since. So I will work on it before next finance meeting.
I know, I had a panic today that I hadn't checked it, and then I saw that you said thank you for looking at it and providing figures. And I thought, oh yeah, I did do that.
Yeah, and you gave me some more ideas, which I think now I need to go back through the emails to try and find. So yeah, there is a 5-year business plan on its way. So obviously that will feed into items for precepts as well. But is there any other big ideas that you have for the village, or what we can do? Now's the chance to get them in.
Well, I'd still like to think about how we can make certain parts of the village more attractive in terms of the floral display. I know it's a moot point, but I think for a relatively small amount of money, we could actually do more, really, in terms of. So just in general terms, I'd just like to think about planters, flowers more generally,
Okay.
Not specific at the moment, but it wouldn't be a terrific amount of money, but it would. I think they do cheer people up quite a lot to see the flower displays and things like that.
The ones
Rayne in bloom, yeah.
The ones that are on the platform are beautiful at the minute.
Yeah.
And we do get people commenting on them. So I think you're right. For something that won't amount to that much money, it can make a lot of difference.
I mean, it needs voluntary input. But I think we can get. I think we can get there. I think we can.
Yeah.
If there is one in my neck of the woods, I'd be happy to look after it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, see. Yeah.
I wonder if we could plant out at the Rayne signs or something as well.
Yeah.
There's actually, can I just say there is actually shrubbery there, and I think Paul King put it there.
Yeah.
There's definitely one. There's definitely planted out as you come in by the Swan.
There's definitely one my side.
Both ends are.
Side as well. I haven't noticed that. That's really bad.
Yeah. Both ends have got it.
It's just a bit of. I don't mean to be disparaging, but it's just a bit of hedgy type variegated stuff. It's not.
Perhaps we could make it.
It doesn't look so bad, but I mean, I've noticed, for instance, that Black Notley this year seem to have put sort of trays, if you like, for want of a better word, on their signs and had them all planted out, and that looks quite attractive as you go into the village.
It's actually also almost be nice if we could get some wild seeds. I mean, if you can get the poppies along the side of the road, they look absolutely amazing.
They really do. You're right.
It's quite nice if we could do something with wild flowers as well, maybe.
Yeah, the rough verges is a good idea. Yeah.
I think if you're going to go along that route, I think just as from my personal point of view, I like Icelandic Californian poppies, which keep blooming and blooming and blooming. They're out now. They're easy to maintain. They self-seed, not a lot of work, and they look nice. And that's really what you need is something that's low maintenance but high colour. And also, perhaps we ought to look at Housestead and Gosfield as a case in point as to where they put theirs. I mean, I know they have sort of boats and wheelbarrows and things like that. That's probably not what we want to go down, but just what they do and where they put it.
Yeah.
Arlo. Josh.
Sorry. Yes, Mike.
While we're talking about the village being attractive, and it comes up a lot, I know, with discussions and everything else. The house that's unoccupied on the right-hand side in Rayne, Bill Shaw's old house.
Yeah.
Which, not being funny, you can put all the flowers in the world, but that is the biggest I saw in Rayne. If you walk through it, drive through it, does it need any money to find solicitors to make any improvements, do something, force people to do something? I don't know. I'm just putting it out there because.
Is this the one just after the camp at Nasda?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be such a beautiful house.
I know. It's beautiful.
Sorry, we've got a guest back.
if you go around the back, it's a massive place.
Yeah, we have made inquiries in the past there, but the household, the homeowners, unfortunately not keen to sell. I'm afraid we have tried.
And the biggest question there we did last year, it came up several times actually about that too, but it's not an ideal jurisdiction, unfortunately.
I think he, as I understand it, his father left it to Greenpeace or something like that.
Yeah. I know the reason, Celia, and everything else. It's just that I keep getting asked, can the parish council do things and everything else?
No.
I think it's been tried and tried and tried. Unfortunately, it's private property and you can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right. Yeah.
No, district council has powers over some properties, but I'm not sure what they could do with that one.
All we can do is plant out and then just draw the eye away from it. It's probably the best option we have.
Well,
Audit up.
I feel for the neighbours, to be truthful.
Yeah.
Especially considering the neighbours have done a lot of work on that house, on the front of the house as well, and it looks stunning.
Yeah. There we are.
I think it's a question of wait and see.
Yeah. Okay. Right, any other ideas for precept? It'll be on next month's agenda anyway, so you can have another month to think about it. So that's good. So, moving on to expenditure, the first two items have been agreed by finance. So just to cross the T's and dot the I's, I get that the right way round. Is to purchase new tyres for the lawnmower at £260 and a new hedge cutter at £360. Can I have a proposer and a seconder for those two items, please? Mike and Grace, thank you very much. We also need to discuss a new doorbell for the CIP because the current one's just not working properly, and obviously Sarah doesn't really know when somebody's turning up anymore.
No, I nearly missed Jan today. I felt awful. I don't know how long she'd been standing there, but if I get engrossed on the screen, I don't always look at my iPad where I've got the camera on. Unfortunately, I managed to catch her. It works intermittently, that's the problem. And I can't constantly be looking, unfortunately. I don't want to miss anybody. I'm also getting people wanting to use the toilet, so I think the signage does need changing there. Sorry, should have brought that up in the village hall, because people still think the toilets are open. So it's a bit of an issue, and then trying to keep people separate while they're waiting. I had a bit of a queue today, so it's not helpful at the moment. But the bell definitely needs sorting in the short term rather than the long term, because I could miss somebody.
Sarah put it out onto the EALC bulletin to get some responses to what other parish councils do, and we had just the one response, didn't we?
Yes, we did, unfortunately, but at least it was something. It did give me an idea. Sorry, I didn't include it in the agenda, but the price for that came out at about £163. I haven't had a chance to compare that to others, unfortunately. Sorry.
Well,
what was that
sorry,
one?
but I think that, Chair, I'm sorry, but I think that's excessive. I have a doorbell that you stick on the outside, and you ring the doorbell, and you can actually take the doorbell with you wherever you go, and that's probably about 30 quid.
Yeah, but do you have a solar panel for it?
No.
That's what is required.
Is that what it's needed? Is a solar panel?
I have been advised that a solar panel is required to keep it charged, and there's also a yearly subscription for cloud storage as well. So that's the price that I've been quoted by another parish council.
Is that the price of like ring.com, where you click it to your phone when somebody rings the doorbell, it comes up on your phone?
Fortunately, it comes up on a computer. I wouldn't want it to come up on my phone, thank you, Celia. I think I do quite enough hours as it is, so I don't really want it coming up all the time.
It can go to computer, but I know that they advertise it's going onto a phone, but I presume it can go onto a computer.
Yes, it does, yeah.
Yeah. So therefore, although, because they're movement activated as well, we wouldn't want, like, every time somebody walk past when we're not in the CIP, Sarah getting an alert that someone's walked past the door. So the fact that it can just go straight to the computer. So
and I do
only
think it does
be
need to be. It's not just a house doorbell we need. It needs to be much more specific. Clearly, because of obviously exactly that. It needs to be rung. You need to be able to see people, but it also needs to be able to be charged solar and etc. So, yeah.
And it's my safety as well at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you're
because I work alone.
Exactly. You need to be able to physically see who you are about to open the door to.
And actually, you can have a conversation. Actually, you can actually talk, can't you, as well?
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Actually, so you can with the house one. So I'm assuming that if it's somebody for the toilet and the toilet isn't open, Sarah will be able to talk to that person
without having to get up and traipse all the way to the door.
Yeah. Paul?
I was just going to say, what about these access systems that flats have? You know, where you actually have an intercom system or something like that.
That's
kind of what we've got now, yeah.
Yeah, that's what you've got now. Yeah, exactly, which means you can open and shut the door remotely and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Does it have to be visual?
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Well, we have got the CCTV covering the door, so it doesn't strictly speaking have to be visual.
I mean, that way it would only be when somebody actually rings the bell that you, as you do now, as you say, that's the same system as we've already got, really, isn't it?
Intercom is, intercom. I agree. Intercom would be sensible. I mean, if you got CCTV covering the door anyway, it's doubling it, isn't it?
I mean, yes, we could look at other options. I'm not quite sure how expensive.
I think £160 is a lot of money, however you look at it. I think it's an awful lot. I hear what you say, and I understand what you're saying, but I still think it's a lot of money.
But a new intercom system might just be as much or if not more as well.
Yeah, I think a new intercom system will be in the same similar sort of price range, to be honest. But the thing is, you don't really need if you've got CCTV, you don't really need cloud storage for recordings and things like that.
It's already on storage. It's on cloud anyway. The CCTV. So it's a moot point, really.
But I suspect some sort of remote system like you've already got, maybe a little bit more sophisticated, would be similar money, I would imagine, probably. I can't see 160 quid's an awful lot of money for a security system, but, I don't know. I don't know because I haven't got any way of checking the numbers.
If it was just voice, it could do a entry phone that talks to the VoIP phone extension, so that so for instance during lockdown, it means that if someone goes to the CIP, they press the button, but then the phone that Sarah's got whilst working at home, she can answer the door as if she was in the office there.
That sounds interesting.
That would be useful.
I can check the price. I've been putting video ones in, but you can get them as voice only, which are obviously a fraction of the price of the video ones. But that would then just link straight through. It doesn't need all the cloud side of things.
That would be very helpful, please, Tom, if you could.
Should we look into that and we'll discuss at finance meeting?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's the agenda for finance to discuss then. Okay, is that okay, Sarah?
That's fine, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Meetings and training. Sarah and I had a meeting with the North Essex Parking Partnership about a month ago, didn't we? It was after the last Parish Council meeting, and we discussed with him our ideas for double yellow lines at the corner of Station Road and the street, and time restricted bays outside the post office. He said there would be okay to do, and also at the Maltings, and he was very much supportive of both of those ideas. So basically we just need to get the support of our district councillor, which I believe we have. So we are now able to put in an application. And if we're successful, it will take about 18 months
Chair, have we agreed to put yellow lines on the corner of Station Road? I thought that was, I didn't understand that was agreed.
Yeah, we spoke about it quite a while ago.
Hmm.
It was back the February or March meeting.
Yeah.
We definitely discussed it because we had Joy Darby. Joy came to the meeting because we had discussed about putting a yellow line all the way down the street, and councillors at that meeting we decided that actually the dangerous thing was the corner of Shelford Road. Sorry,
Station Road.
Oh, is it just going to be on the right-hand side as if you're coming out of Station Road onto the...
No, it'll be both corners.
It will be both corners. Brilliant. That's what I was going to say, because that left turn has got so bad as well now.
Yeah.
And especially considering you have to go physically out and round both, except left can sometimes be even less visible. Yeah, okay. I was just wondering whether it would be both sides or not.
Chair, there've been 4 vans there, 2 parked on the corner, right on the corner.
Yeah.
I really, to be totally honest with you, and I just don't see that it's going to solve any issues, because I think people will still park on double yellow lines.
But then you have much more of a right to then prosecute them for it.
But I think it'll still happen, and it will just push the.
It may still happen for a while, but at the end of the day, it's something that at least then is a deterrent rather than just leaving it, because at the minute nothing happens and it is dangerous. Whereas if the double yellows are there, then fair enough, people may ignore it, but then they'll be paying a fine for it. So eventually they'll get the idea.
Yep.
We also discussed inconsiderate car parking that's happening within the village. In regards to the Medley Road area, brought up by some of the planning applicants tonight. It's something that has been raised, and we have received some communication from villagers about this, and it's quite difficult because obviously we've got a business that's trying to re-establish itself, and obviously we've got residents that aren't happy with the car parking situation, but again, we don't want to come down on a business that's trying the hardest. Exactly. So, but he did say that there are some instances where the parking, is wrong if they park on the raised hump part of the Medley Road. So he was going to have people out patrolling and possibly, talk to some people if that was happening, and perhaps possibly issue tickets if it kept on coming. And he also gave us an email address to give to residents. That's like an all weekend one, so when the staff are on, they can be directed if there's a parking issue within the village. So it was quite a very enlightening meeting, and it was quite good, really. Paul?
I think it has improved though, Chair, don't you? I think the parking around that area has improved.
I'll admit I haven't been down the middle of the street during the weekend, so I couldn't possibly say, but if it has, that's brilliant.
I think it's much better than what it was.
I think it's much better. There was obviously the initial opening where it was a tad on the ridiculous side, but I think people gave it a sort of a bit of leeway on that. But I tend to agree that there are at least now passing points, whereas it did get to the point where it was sort of, you just had to sit there for 5 minutes while cars just kept coming, because unless it was clear, you weren't getting anywhere. But it doesn't seem to be like that anymore.
Yeah.
So
that's good.
Mike? I do have to leave. I've got some phone calls I was supposed to make at 9:30. So I do apologise.
We're virtually finished anyway, so thank you, Mike.
Right. Okay. Thanks, guys. Sorry.
Okay, bye. And then meetings coming up. Obviously, next week is a neighbourhood plan meeting, and then the week after that, we've got finance and personnel, and then the week after that, we've got communications and data. It's a busy month for the parish council. And I apologise if you're on all those committees, because you're going to, like me, you're going to be quite busy. I think that's it. There's no other training or meetings.
I've registered for the domestic violence training at the end of the month, but that's all for now. There's also the AGM, the EALC AGM, which nobody has come back to me on apart from yourself. So I will be attending that if anybody else is available. It is only for an hour and a half virtual meeting, and there is no cost involved this time, obviously. It's usually quite useful to attend. We do pay them a large amount of money.
What date is that, sorry?
I believe it's the 30th, but let me just check. I know it was a Thursday. It's one of my days that I'm in, which wouldn't be the 30th, would it? Because the 1st I've got a meeting. So it must be, I think it's the 24th, Grace.
24th of September, yeah?
Yeah.
Is that Thursday night? I'd be happy to go. I think it'd be...
It's in the morning.
Not go. On the Thursday, Zach goes to nursery. So how early?
Okay. 10 o'clock.
Oh, okay, no, I could do that. He gets dropped off at 9:15, so I could do that. I'd be quite interested to listen and learn.
Thank you, Grace. That's brilliant. Fantastic. Okay. So the date of the next meeting is Monday, the 5th of October, and then the items to the clerk by the 24th of September. And we'll close the meeting at 21:49. Can we stop the YouTube link, please?
And that stopped.